when I would want to sell my things, they kind of dropped into a big black hole. And I would go and want to get my check, and I wanted a report that said what sold and for how much. And I just kind of felt like there had to be a better way where there was just more accountability. And when I would have a garage sale, shoppers would come and they would offer me 5 cents. And I knew it was worth at least $7.50. Like I know there's more value in this. And so I think I was looking to just create a better secondhand shopping experience for families.
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 285 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. When I tell you you can start a business out of anything, do you have like an internal eye roll? Like, does your stomach drop? You're like, she's full of hooey. You don't believe that that's actually possible? Well, today I have an incredible guest, Rhea Lana Riner, and she started a business out of her living room, no joke, out of her living room, and she now has over 120 franchise locations across the United States. You guys, she started this business because her husband had left his corporate job and decided to go into nonprofit. They had 3 little kids. They didn't have as much money as they needed or wanted, and there were ways that she was looking around at what she wanted to do in order to help other people. Yes, humans. You can start a business just because you want to help other people. And I think Rhea Lana's story is so inspiring, and the way that she talks about finding your joy, figuring out what people need, and then offering it. You guys, business really is that simple. Please note, that doesn't mean it's easy. But it really is that simple, and anyone can get started. And what I love about Rhea Lana's story, especially at a moment in our world where people are screaming about the economy and this, that, the other, everything's so hard, nobody's buying stuff. It's really interesting to watch what one person can do to turn that entire story on its head, no matter when it happens. Yeah. And so I really want you to listen for the moments of courage, because running a business always takes courage. And these are not like big, let me put myself $1 million in debt type of courage. We're talking about the courage to be seen starting small. We're talking about trying again when it doesn't work exactly the way that you thought. We're talking about grit and resilience and not giving up, and the courage it takes to keep going when you're not sure exactly what the next step is going to look like. After listening to today's interview, you're going to be inspired to take your best next step. Rhea Lana Riner is the CEO and founder of Rhea Lana's Children Consignment Events, a national franchise with 120 locations in 26 states. What started as a simple clothing swap in her living room has grown into a multi-million-dollar business. And this business empowers moms, it's building communities, and it's providing families with high-quality, affordable children's merchandise. Passionate about helping women balance motherhood and entrepreneurship, Rhea Lana has mentored countless franchise owners, guiding them towards personal and professional success. If you've been wondering if this is possible for you, you are going to love this episode. It's time to get hopeful, it's time to get inspired, and it's time to listen to a real woman talk about how she created a multi-million-dollar business from love. Pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Rhea Lana, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Boy, am I looking forward to jumping in with you today.
Sarah, it is a joy to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I have no doubt. I'm so looking forward to this. So we have a lot to get to today about I have to say, these topics are very close to my heart, about women, our journeys, everything that we can do, your personal journey, which I find so inspiring. But before we jump into the gooey goodness, I have to ask you, right? I love that you're now a grandmother. You've had this gorgeous, beautiful life that you have created for yourself, really from scratch. But out of everything that you could have done, here on planet Earth, we got this rotation, we go around the sun, right? Here we all are together. Out of all the things that you could have done, why is this what you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, Sarah, I know that you love empowering women, and I love your message. And when I think about my story, the reason that I got started is that I was a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom. I understood the challenges that moms were facing. And I just had this thing in my heart that I wanted to help moms. And it really wasn't meant to be a business. I didn't have any business background. I just had a heart to help moms like me. And so that's really where it started. And one thing just kind of led to another.
That makes me so happy. I tell people all the time that we don't have things. People say on your heart, in your heart, whatever, right? Depends on where you are in the country. But I don't think we have these ideas or these nudges or these instincts to support or help other people if it's not kind of like our gift to give the world. I think we're, no two people want exactly the same thing. And so when something kind of drives you like that, boy, those always make the best businesses every time.
And I agree. And Simon Sinek has written a book about the why, knowing
Yes.
your why. I'm sure you have, and I think it goes to that. It's actually even a biological process. It's in our brain. It's what motivates us. It's what gets us out of bed every morning. And I think that's directly related to what's in our heart. It's what drives us, motivates us, gives us a lot of joy.
Oh my God, well, speak on it, sister, because I really believe that. Side note, just real quick, I have a girlfriend she's so funny. Like she's one of those people where I'm like, how are you not like Ellen 2.0? Like just hilarious, right? And just deadpan all the time. And for years, she's actually an excellent cook. And I've been like, would you please just write a cooking blog? Like do something. You're so funny. She loves to write and it just wouldn't happen. It would just like, it was crunchy. It just wasn't working. And then she found TikTok. And she just does whatever. And her last video hit like 3 million views. She's like, I wasn't even going to record that one. And I'm like, that's always the one. It's the one where it's just this natural, like, this is who I am. This is how I'm showing up. And I just thought it was so interesting. I was looking forward to talking to you about your journey. And here I'm watching someone else I know and love just absolutely experience, the truth of what Simon Sinek has really done scientifically, showing us like how much our physiology responds to this desire to help or make people laugh or just add some joy to the planet. Especially right now when people feel so down, it's so great to add so much joy and happiness to the world. So let's go together through your amazing journey because, for anyone listening who's like, Sarah Walton always says you can do anything. You can make a business out of anything. And they're like, skeptic. I think, Rhea Lana, you think you have something pretty cool to share about your story and how you got started. And we're recording this episode a little bit before it comes out. But I have to say, we're recording this on Earth Day. And I think it's so cool at what you do. We're recording on Earth Day because I only buy my clothes from ThredUp because I'm crazy because we have enough clothes on the planet, like enough already. But I would love for you to talk about how this started and how you went like step by step so people can actually see how a journey like this happens.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I have to start with just my family of origin that I grew up in, because it's maybe a little different. I grew up in the military. And so I lived a lot of places. My dad was military. My mom was a teacher. But I say that because we had zero business experience. We didn't talk about business. I moved around all the time. But another thing that wasn't normal is my dad did talk about leadership a lot around the dinner table.
Love that.
And if you had known me, though, growing up, probably even until my 30s, maybe even early 40s, you would have not called me a leader. I was this introvert, kind of insecure. I was a hard worker, though, very competitive, played sports. But I do think, our families do tell part of our story.
Oh.
And and of course we take what we have and we, take the good things forward and leave the bad things back, all that. But when I got married and I really followed my husband in his career. We had 3 small children. I have a degree, but honestly, it's not super practical. And I wanted to take care of my kiddos. And there was a season in our life where my husband left the corporate world and went into nonprofit work. We moved to another state, and I had these 3 small children under the age of 5.
Oh my God.
And so going from an engineering corporate salary to nonprofit work, we took this big pay cut. And this was in the mid 90s. And I always loved shopping secondhand. Like, I love it that you love shopping secondhand. I always did. There's just something about the treasure, the find, there's just something about the hunt that makes, I think, especially women, we love it. And so I loved those things, but the experiences for secondhand shopping weren't great during that time. And really the only experience I had were garage sales where that was fine, but you'd spend all Saturday morning, you'd buy a bunch of junk you didn't really need, and you might be found one great thing. And it wasn't a good use of my time. I just didn't love it. Although I loved having garage sales and selling things and, seeing how I could make money off things in my home that were still useful to another family. But then also just consignment stores at that time, and I'm not saying this anything negative about the consignment industry, but at that time I kind of felt like when I would want to sell my things, they kind of dropped into a big black hole. And I would go and want to get my check, and I wanted a report that said what sold and for how much. And I just kind of felt like there had to be a better way where there was just more accountability. And when I would have a garage sale, shoppers would come and they would offer me 5 cents. And I knew it was worth at least $7.50. Like I know there's more value in this. And so I think I was looking to just create a better secondhand shopping experience for families. So that's how it got started. When my youngest child was headed into preschool, I knew I would have a few hours a week to myself. As women, most women are, not all, but I was pretty insecure, and I invited a friend to do it with me. I was going to have this little consignment sale in my home. She didn't want to do it, and so I had to do it by myself. And that was the first step of, courage. Like, can I do this? I was
just going to say courage. Yeah.
And, I was an introvert, again, didn't have a marketing degree, never taken a business class, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I thought if I do it perfect enough, people will come. The problem was, Sarah, that nobody came to the first one. So I learned a lot from the very beginning, but there were 11 women that did let me sell their things. They called them consigners. So that felt like a win. My husband helped me move all the furniture out of we had this one small living area, our house. We moved the furniture into our bedroom, and we set up 3 racks of clothes. But like I mentioned, that first one, it really failed because shoppers didn't come. I had, and believe it or not, there wasn't an internet back then. And so you had to do,
right.
You had to do grassroots inviting. So anyway, that's just how it started. And those 11 consigners, I went to them and I said, will you give me a chance to have one more sale? And so I did it again. I learned how to print a flyer and invite people and do yard signs, and had to really extend myself. And that's how it got started in the very beginning.
Oh my, well, hold on. We just have to take a pause. There were 2 moments there. People think, oh, Rhea Lana, I love this so much. I'm like, there's so many things I want to talk about. I'm like, my brain is overfiring. But people think that starting a business is uber complicated. There's 89 million steps you have to do. And now we do have the internet, right? So it's like the website and the brand and the logo and the colors and the font and people. And I'm like, it just takes 1 or 2 steps of courage. And I heard 2. One is doing it alone, and then doing it again after it didn't work. Those 2 moments, I mean, that's everything. And anyone listening who's like, is that really how you succeed? Yes, that is really how you succeed, is after a moment of like, oh, that didn't feel good. You get up and do again. That's everything. That's just everything. So then from there, you're in your living room. Now, was it at this point, was it all like children's clothing back and forth that people were really working with?
Yes, and the original name was the Children's Exchange. So, people would say you're exchanging children. I don't know. You start somewhere.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yes. Okay, got it.
So anyway, I wasn't a business major, wasn't a marketing. I just knew it needed a name, and but it was all children's clothes. It just started out with children's clothing, and after the very first sale, my husband actually, it's hard to imagine because we all walk around with computers in our hand with our phones.
Seriously.
But things were not computerized back then. And so after that very first sale, my husband had said, Rhea Lana, we should computerize this. Well, all the stay-at-home moms that I knew, no one had a computer in their house except me. I did, because it was my husband's. It was just kind of a hobby that he did. And so we joke that we had the first computerized garage sale in the world in 1997, probably, because we were scanning barcodes and, my heart, going back to my heart, I just always wanted to, if I was going to do this, it was going to be an excellent experience. And so I wanted each mom that was selling her things with me, I wanted her to be able to see exactly what sold and exactly how much, so that there would be no questions of just integrity of what happened. Mm-hmm. And so the consignment industry was around, but it wasn't a very high quality industry. They were beginning to be pop-up events. I didn't really know about them much, but we just wanted to take the whole consignment experience to another level, and just a high quality appeal to moms who expect excellence. Because I did, I wanted things to be done excellently and treated well. So I really was able to just put myself in the place of what a mom looking for nice secondhand things would want for her child. So that's how it started. Stayed in my home for a few years, took over another room of the house and the garage, and took over my child's room. So we definitely took it just step by step, and it did take a lot of courage. But the way that I went into business, also, it wasn't high risk. We didn't have a lot of money to risk, and nobody was giving us money. So I just wanted to do it step by step, and I just think that's something just for our audience to think of too. Is you don't really want to go into things high risk. Just sort of take it step by step and figure out if there's an audience out there and figure out if you enjoy it. And I think that's just been part of my journey that's helped make it sustainable for me.
Well, okay. I think we just wrapped up all of the genius in the whole world. Yes, all of those things. I love what you're saying. Like for anybody who's like, oh, but I have to do I was so involved in the fundraising for business, and boy, is it ugly, right? But like people are like, I need my A1 round of 6 million. It's like, no, you don't. You really, really don't. And I so appreciate you being honest about that. Like you really can start with nothing. Honestly, I think this is what women are so great at. I mean, our physical bodies create out of nothing, right? Like we grow people.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, hello, there wasn't a people and now there's a people, right? So we grow people, but we literally can take nothing and turn it into something. And I think that's the magic of running a business. And especially as women, we're so creative. We really do generate idea after idea after idea. And I think what you're saying is so important, that we find the joy in it, that we don't have to do these huge risky ventures. It can be moment by moment by moment by moment. And how did you feel? I always like to bring in the money conversation too, because I know sometimes when I talk about this and I'm like, you just listen for the next right step. You do the next right thing. And if it doesn't work, you have to find the courage to do the next right thing. What was it like for you guys financially as you were doing this? Was it successful financially, like right out of the gate? Did you have moments of doubt around that? Like, what was that part of the journey like for you?
Well, I first wanted to touch on what you said about moms, that we create something. And I think what I love about being a mom is we do like to nurture things. We really do. And that's women in business.
Yes.
We like to nurture things. And so that's where I think women are great business women, because we just understand you got to water it and feed it and take care of it. And so anyway, I did want to follow, because I think that is just such a wonderful thing. But when that very first sale, again, the expectations were low for me. I just were very low. And I think that's important. We just kind of want to have proper expectations. I remember that I made $200, Sarah, $200. And that was a win for me. Like I went out and bought a fancy purse. It was the first new thing I had bought for myself ever, because when all the money that came in, it went for the kids or the bills or the house payment. And I do think that's what women do experience. We tend to put ourselves last. And so when I did this little business, all of a sudden, of course, there was some tension. I needed to pay for things, but I felt finally the freedom to buy a little something for myself, which then motivated me to, okay, I want to grow this thing. And I think it helps you prioritize your life. We can do a lot of things with our time, but for me, it helped me narrow focus that I want to figure this out. I want to figure it out so that it can get more money, make more money. And it did gradually. Each event grew. At the same time I was doing this, I was also teaching tennis lessons for my kids, because I couldn't afford it. It's a crazy story. But anyway, I couldn't afford tennis lessons. I wanted my kids to learn to play tennis. And so I spent all summer teaching tennis lessons. And I got hauling my kids out there and hauling tennis balls. This is sad to admit, but I got to the end of the summer, Sarah, and I made zero money. Like once I paid all the instructors, I looked and I just bawled. But it was this huge business lesson of, okay, I've got my expenses, I've got my profit. At the end of the day, I need my profit to be more than the expenses. And so just that helped. Then I had these two little businesses going, and eventually the consignment events were the ones that were taking off and making more money. And they did. And I think for me, there was this moment when there was a really good friend of mine that she was also a stay-at-home mom, and she was getting ready to go back into the workforce. And I think my events were growing. I'd been doing them for a few years, and I probably didn't have a healthy, maybe appreciation for how much money I was making, because it still was a lot on my family to balance because my family still saw me as a stay-at-home mom, but then I was pulling out to run these crazy events, and kind of life at home would sort of fall apart. No groceries in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she began to tell me what her salary was going to be for a year, 2 weeks vacation, and I began to realize, oh, I just made that in one event.
Oh my
and it was this
gosh.
It was this defining moment of, okay, I think this is a good gig. Yes, I have to work hard and I have a lot to figure out, but this is what can work for my family. And, and there's more risk. It's not for everybody,
Right.
because there's definitely risk involved. But so just talking about finances. And I think as women, if we haven't been involved in business, you just kind of got to figure it out along the way and don't take too many risks. Just figure it out because it's figure outable. You just got to take some time.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Marie Forleo, for that word. But it is figure outable. I think too, Rhea Lana, you're sharing something that so many people don't talk about. And that is, I think, kind of in two ways. One is the truth about running a business. I mean, I have clients who have 7-figure businesses and they're like, wait, I'm 1 month away, like one bad month away from not being able to run this business anymore. And that happens so often. And it's not because we're not smart. It's that things just kind of take off. I love what you said about the tenants. You're like, oh, I have to pay all these. There's no dollars left. Like, oh, whoops. Right. And it reminds me of, I grew up on I Love Lucy. My mother loved to watch I Love Lucy. Right. And there's the time where they decide to do Aunt May's salad dressing because Ethel makes this incredible salad dressing and they decide they should sell it. Right. And they just pick a price and they start selling it. And Ricky comes home. He's like, great, you're losing $3 a bottle or whatever it was. Right. And they were like, oh no. And that is so easy to do. And it's not a woman thing. Right. It happens to anybody who runs a business, right? Like, I want to be really clear about that. It is a business thing.
Absolutely.
Because you see the money coming. So when people do this in their household budgets too, I love it. I love when people admit this because it makes me laugh because I think we all do it to some extent where they're like, oh, I have an extra $200 this month. And they spend that extra 200 like 3 times. They're like, oh, I have an extra 200. Let me get that. Oh, I have an extra 200. Let me get that. Then they're like, wait, I spent that same $200 3 times. Whoops. It's just so easy to do. So I love the truth about that and just learning that lesson. So it's a lesson, you learn it, you keep going. And then the other thing you said about recognizing how much revenue and income is possible through your own business. I mean, I remember the first time I did something similar. I mean, I did really well in corporate. Like, this was not a bad job. I had an incredible job. And I remember the first month I made my annual salary in a month. And I was like, what? What just happened? Right? It's a little bit unnerving. You're like, is this real? And then it's like, no, this is real. This is actually how this starts to work. And I think it was so courageous of you. I mean, I graduated college in 1997. And I remember when I got to send my mom an email from UCLA, I was so excited, right? So I know what you mean about the internet. It wasn't there. You were doing this from scratch. But for you to be making as much as someone else was making in a year in a single event, was that heady for you? Did it scare you? Did it feel exciting? Like,
all of the above
for you as a person? Yeah.
Well, all of the above, I mean, just, is this real? Do I trust this? And I think just another, maybe a life lesson is we did as a family, try to always live below our means. So we created some buffer that, because, I'm in the event business and you could have a bad event, and so we just always wanted to have good wisdom. I think that applies to everyone in business. You want to always have good wisdom and so it was all the things, but it was just part of the journey of probably giving me the push I needed to kind of take that next step towards franchising, because that for me, it was, and my husband actually decided he wanted to stay in nonprofit work. I kind of thought he'd go back into the corporate world with, all the benefits and the nonprofit was also kind of a startup. So it was kind of, it wasn't an established startup at the time. And so we just didn't have a lot of the benefits that we had in the corporate world. And so that's when I began to think through franchising. And But this is a true story that I didn't have the money to hire a consultant or really to risk it. I had actually added another sale in another community, and actually my younger sister had tested it out. So I had begun to dabble in, is it reproducible? Can I get the things out of my head? And so I actually read Franchising for Dummies, the book. And when I would take the kids to the community pool, they would swim and I'd use my highlighter. And so again, it was this next step that wasn't high risk. It just kind of felt manageable. And sure, there's a level of risk, but just a small amount. And we didn't know if anybody would buy it. I had no idea. I had no idea. So I just think that's kind of part of it. And I just think also, I was thinking through, I work now in a corporate office and I've got a corporate team. And so for some women, chasing their dream or finding their purpose in life, it is just being really good at what they do. And that really has become my heart. For me, it started out as an entrepreneurial journey, but I really do want to encourage every woman to chase her dream within her circumstances, what she's been given, because it's not the same, for everyone. And wouldn't it be great if we all just encouraged each other along the way in that?
Yes, please. It really would be great. Yeah. And I'm so happy you're out there sharing that message, really, because I think it's so important. And I love what you're saying too. As a business coach, I'm always like, it's not cookie cutter. Everybody's like, just give me the 3-step plan. I'm like, to what? Like your thing is going to be so different from someone else's. And I think the internal struggles can be very similar, right? Am I worthy to do this? Am I good enough to do this? Is this too much money to be making? Is this not enough? Like we have those questions and we'll share that journey. But as far as like you expanding into your joy and what really makes you happy and trusting yourself to have the courage step after step, that's a little bit different for everybody. And we really want to like talk about the nuances of that. I think that's so good. And there's another thing that you do really well that I do want to talk about, and that is sort of explaining or having an understanding of the different seasons of life that women go through. I think this is so important. It's kind of like, it's like our hormones, right? Like, come on now. Like men have one set, they go the whole way and we're like, that must be nice. Right. And then there's these seasons to life that are just so, so different. Can you talk a little bit about how you see these seasons and any advice you have for people as they go through their different seasons?
Well, Sarah, I know that you love to talk about women and balancing all the things in life. And again, I do as well, because I think as women, seasons of life change more than men. For most of us. I mean, that's just the way it is, because we go through being a mother and then maybe the kids leaving home. And I am now in this season where, believe it or not, I'm 60. I'm a grandmother. And so I've got these grandkids, and it's awesome. I personally feel that balance is a little elusive. Like there's no perfect balance.
Agreed.
Yeah. But it is seasonal. I think you have a greater capacity in different seasons of life. And so that's where I think if women can just be developing that dream and that passion, figuring out what they're good at, figuring out what brings them joy, then as they do have some greater bandwidth at different seasons, they can lean in. But if you spend your life only giving your life away to kids or family or all, because everyone needs us and we want to be caregivers. But if we spend our whole life, then some folks can get to my age and go, wow, what's my thing? What am I good at? What's my passion? Where can I impact the world? Where can I leave a legacy beyond my family? Of course, my family, but maybe there's some other giftings in there that we can also have impact and influence in a positive way. So that's the main thing. I just think it varies depending on your season of life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also to say that there are so many women who've started incredible businesses in their 60s, right? They actually do hit that moment and go, oh my gosh, I'm really good at XYZ. And I think the freedom in that can get lost sometimes, right? We feel like it's supposed to look a certain way, right? Well, I can only start a business if I'm in my 20s or 30s, or I can only start a business if the kids are little, or I can only start a business if I'm staying at home, or nope. Like all rules are off. And I think looking for not only what we're good at, but what brings us joy. I just think that is
And I
I
think
call it the compass. Yeah.
true. But I do think we have to keep using our brain along the way. We absolutely have to keep stepping out of our comfort zone, learning something new. Like my brain is being stretched with AI right now. I mean, we all got to always learn the next new thing or,
Yeah.
and just kind of exercise that muscle. And if we'll exercise that muscle of taking a small risk or learning a new thing, then when we are in our 60s, we're kind of ready. We're not just rusty and have never tried to do something new, which most women have. But there are some. It can be if we just stay kind of afraid to do that thing and only in our little comfort zone. Then there is a time. Then if you get into your 60s and you've never done it, it's hard at that point. So that's what we just got to keep exercising that muscle, always trying a new thing, being brave and stepping into what, because you just never know. I never knew that I could really lead a company. My family jokes, my sister is the extroverted princess. We say her name should be on billboards, not mine, but you just never know where your journey is going to take you unless you just take that next little step.
So true. And I do think though, listen, you can run a household, you can run a business, right? And not that household should be a business, right? A household is of service, but there's so many pieces to juggle and think about and be aware of and track. And that's the same. Absolutely. Those skill sets translate very, very well. And I think that's why one of the reasons we're so good at business actually is how well we can multitask and think of all those things at once. And heaven knows we could probably even do less of it and run the business very well because we think about so much all the time.
And under pressure, we're thinking about a lot under pressure.
True. It's so true. I know. Under pressure. Over pressure, next to pressure, all the pressure. And so let me ask you, like, if someone's listening to this right now and they have an inkling of an idea, they're like, okay, Rhea Lana's sort of inspired me here. I got a little bit of an idea. What would you say to her?
Well, I would say test it out. You got to test it out. Is there a need out there? And that's the first thing. I oftentimes will have men or women come up and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And so, but I don't think you start with wanting to be an entrepreneur necessarily. I think you start with where are the needs? Like even for yourself, where do you have frustrations in life because of what's out there with the current businesses or organizations? And figure out how to meet a need. And I think then when you figure that out, that's where you start. And then just keep trying. I think resilience is such a great word because I think I had no idea how resilient I needed to be. Like you got to keep picking yourself up and trying again. And people are going to also hurt you and fail you. And, sometimes the economy is going to change or COVID's going to come or whatever it is,
Pick a thing.
Pick a thing. And you have to just keep going. So I think just figure out where do you maybe experience some frustrations in your daily life and how could you improve those instead of just, it can be easy to sit back and just complain, so are we complainers or are we fixers? So if have a fixing mindset, how could I fix this if I had the opportunity or in my little world, how could I make this better?
So good. So good. I couldn't agree more. I had a mentor once who's like, I can get you to come up with $1 million ideas right now. And I was like, what? And then he said, look around the room right now. What would you change? Where are the problems? What are the things? And I was like, oh my gosh, that is how it's done. That is truly how it's done. So I think, you just dropped a serious bomb of wisdom, a good gooey confetti bomb of wisdom. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So if somebody's listening right now, I know people can have a 30-minute call with you. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yes, absolutely. A 30-minute consulting. Just how can I help you on your journey of personal development? How do you want to take that next step in just maturity and growth?
So good. So good. And also, are you still offering franchises for people if they're interested? Okay.
Absolutely. We are always offering franchises. We want to make sure it's a good fit, but for most people it is. I would say probably 97% of women who find their way into our company have zero business experience. And so we love just taking them into our community, teaching them about all the things. And so that is the neat thing about franchising is you get to do business in community and be part of other women who've had successes and failures and who all care about the same brand. So we love, it's about about mentoring women in business. And it goes back to my heart of what I really enjoy doing. And so, yes, we absolutely have those opportunities and would love to visit with you about that as well if folks are interested.
So good. All right, you guys, we are going to have links to all the ways that you can contact this beautiful human being. This will be under the video if you're watching on YouTube or in the show notes if you're listening in. Rhea Lana, thank you so much for what you're doing on the planet. Thank you so much for helping young moms jump into the business world. And it's just been such a joy to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a joy to be here. You're amazing too, and your audience. Thank you for having me.